Today we confront an event that is as shocking as it is instructive, a mid-air disaster over Yemen, where Israeli pilots were reportedly forced to eject from their aircraft under circumstances that remain tense and deeply troubling. Let me start with this. The skies are no longer just a theater of strategic dominance, they have become a high stakes gamble where a single miscalculation can ripple across nations, economies, and alliances. Imagine being tens of thousands of feet above the ground at the apex of human engineering, and suddenly everything you rely on, the aircraft, your instruments, your training, fails to protect you. This is not just a story of technology, it is a story of human vulnerability in the midst of geopolitical gamesmanship. The incident over Yemen, in which Israeli pilots were forced to eject from their aircraft mid-flight, immediately captured the attention of military analysts and international observers alike, because it is both rare and deeply alarming. Imagine being thousands of feet above the ground, surrounded by clouds and enemy airspace, relying entirely on advanced technology, only to realize that your carefully engineered machine cannot guarantee your safety. This is not the script of a fictional thriller, it is real life, unfolding in one of the most volatile regions of the world. The ejection itself speaks volumes about the extreme danger inherent in modern aerial operations, where even a fraction of a second can determine life or death. This event illustrates that no matter the sophistication of the aircraft or the skill of the pilot, vulnerabilities remain, particularly when operating in contested skies. From the very first reports, the mid-air disaster revealed the fragile balance between confidence and calamity. Israeli aircraft are widely recognized as some of the most technologically advanced in the world, equipped with cutting-edge avionics, missile defense systems, and automated safety features. Yet, despite this edge, the pilots found themselves with no option but to abandon their planes. This raises immediate questions about the nature of the threat they encountered. Was it a sudden mechanical failure, a deliberate strike from advanced anti-aircraft systems, or an unanticipated combination of both? Analysts are quick to point out that such incidents serve as a reminder that no technology, no matter how advanced, is infallible in the face of evolving threats. The human dimension of the disaster is particularly striking. Pilots undergo years of intensive training to handle emergencies, yet the stress and split-second decision-making required during an ejection are unlike any simulation. Hooking into this human story, one can only imagine the adrenaline, the fear, and the razor-sharp focus demanded at that moment. These are individuals who, in the blink of an eye, must weigh the survival of their own lives against the demands of their mission. It is a stark illustration of how modern warfare is not simply a contest of machines, but also a test of human courage, resilience, and composure under unprecedented pressure. Equally compelling is the context of Yemen as a theater of conflict. For years, it has been a proving ground for regional powers, a place where asymmetrical strategies meet high-tech interventions. The airspace above Yemen is no longer a neutral corridor, it is a highly contested environment where every decision carries enormous risk. The forced ejection signals that adversaries on the ground are capable of challenging aerial dominance, shifting the traditional assumptions about control of the skies. Hooking into this, military strategists are now reassessing risk calculations, taking into account not only the capabilities of aircraft, but also the growing sophistication of local defense networks. The broader public reaction is another dimension worth noting. When images and reports of the ejection emerged, they sparked intense discussion about the vulnerability of even the most advanced militaries. For civilians and observers worldwide, it is both shocking and sobering to realize that technology alone cannot prevent disaster. This incident, therefore, resonates far beyond the immediate operational context. It touches on the fundamental uncertainties of conflict, the limits of human and technological preparedness, and the fragile balance that defines high-stakes military engagement. This mid-air crisis is not just a technical story, nor is it merely a tale of military heroism. It is a vivid reminder that warfare, even in the 21st century, retains its unpredictable, chaotic, and human dimensions. Each second in the cockpit matters, and the forced ejection of these Israeli pilots serves as a powerful hook for reflection in a world increasingly dominated by technological superiority. The human element, the courage, decision making, and instinct of trained professionals, remains the ultimate factor determining survival and operational success. The skies may be filled with machines, but it is still the human pilot who confronts the moment of truth, and in Yemen, that truth arrived in a most dramatic and unforgettable way. The recent mid-air incident over Yemen highlights a stark reality. The skies above this region are no longer a sanctuary for any military force, regardless of its technological edge. Yemeni air defense capabilities have evolved significantly over the past decade, moving beyond rudimentary systems to increasingly sophisticated, layered networks capable of challenging even the most advanced aircraft. For Israeli forces, long accustomed to relative air superiority in the region, this development represents a strategic wake-up call. The forced ejection of pilots demonstrates that the balance of power in the air is far more fragile than previously assumed, and that localized forces can now pose a serious threat to high-tech military operations. The key takeaway here is that no technological advantage is absolute when adversaries innovate rapidly and adapt to the realities of modern conflict. What makes this particularly striking is the way Yemen has transformed from a battlefield characterized by asymmetrical tactics to one where precision, timing, and intelligence increasingly dictate outcomes. Hook into this, the success of these air defense systems is not simply a function of the hardware, but also of strategic acumen. Operators on the ground have learned to exploit weaknesses, anticipate flight patterns, and respond with calculated precision. The result is an airspace in which even advanced fighter jets cannot operate with complete confidence. Each mission now carries elevated risk, forcing military planners to reconsider assumptions that were once considered foundational. This shift alters not only immediate tactical decisions but also the broader strategic posture of forces operating in the Middle East. The presence of increasingly capable Yemeni defenses also introduces a psychological dimension to aerial operations. Pilots, trained to trust their aircraft and instruments, now face an invisible but palpable threat, one that demands constant vigilance and adaptability. The need to make split-second decisions under the looming possibility of missile fire, radar detection, or mechanical failure amplifies the already intense pressures of modern combat. Hooking into this human aspect, one can see how technology, while advanced, cannot fully shield pilots from the mental and emotional demands imposed by evolving threats. The incident over Yemen, therefore, becomes not just a story about machines and missiles, but also a narrative about the human capacity to respond under extreme conditions. Another layer to consider is the geopolitical ripple effect of enhanced air defense capabilities. As Yemen demonstrates the ability to challenge superior air forces, neighboring states and international actors are forced to reconsider their military strategies, alliances, and investments. The perception of vulnerability, even if temporary, can shift the calculus of deterrence, influence diplomatic negotiations, and reshape regional power dynamics. Every missile fired, every aircraft forced to eject, and every defense system successfully deployed sends a message far beyond the immediate theater of conflict. It signals capability, intent, and strategic maturity. This makes Yemen not just a tactical concern for Israeli forces, but a critical variable in the broader geopolitical landscape. Moreover, the effectiveness of these defense systems raises questions about the evolving nature of warfare itself. Hook in an era often defined by drones, satellites, and cyber warfare, traditional air defense remains surprisingly impactful. The incident demonstrates that while high-tech innovation dominates headlines, well-coordinated, adaptable, and strategically deployed systems on the ground can neutralize perceived advantages. It underscores a simple but profound truth: technological superiority alone does not guarantee battlefield control. It also highlights the ongoing need for intelligence, preparation, and continuous adaptation in conflict zones where adversaries are both resourceful and determined. The Yemeni example challenges assumptions about military invincibility, illustrating that regional actors can develop capabilities sufficient to contest the airspace above their own territory. For Israeli forces, this forced ejection is more than a tactical setback. It is evidence of a dynamic, evolving threat environment that demands reassessment, recalibration, and renewed attention to strategic planning. The incident hooks attention not just for its drama, but because it signals a broader shift in how air operations, regional defense, and technological superiority intersect in one of the most sensitive zones of the world. The mid-air disaster over Yemen sharply underscores a truth that is often overlooked in discussions about modern warfare. No matter how advanced the technology, human vulnerability remains a central factor. Israeli pilots, trained to operate the most sophisticated aircraft in the world, were suddenly forced to abandon their machines, a situation that exposes both the limits of engineering and the extraordinary demands placed on individuals in combat. Hook into this in that moment, the cockpit transformed from a command center into a life or death arena where split-second decisions determined survival. Technology provided tools, but it was human judgment, composure, and courage that ultimately dictated the outcome. This is a reminder that even in an era dominated by drones, missiles, and automated systems, the human element remains the ultimate determinant of success or failure. Modern military operations often emphasize machinery, avionics, and electronic warfare capabilities, but incidents like this demonstrate that human factors are just as critical, if not more so, in moments of extreme pressure. Pilots are trained for emergencies, yet the reality of ejecting mid-air is far beyond any simulation. Hook, the second the decision to bail out is made, countless variables come into play: wind currents, altitude, speed, terrain below, and the immediate threat of enemy fire. Each factor must be considered instinctively, almost reflexively. The ability to execute flawlessly under such conditions separates the trained professional from the average operator, and in this case, it is what preserved life amid chaos. This event also highlights the profound psychological toll of operating in hostile environments. When the aircraft became compromised, the pilots were forced to confront immediate mortality while remaining fully aware of the strategic consequences of their actions. Hooking into this human drama, one can appreciate the intense cognitive load that accompanies advanced military engagements. The mind must process technical failures, environmental conditions, and tactical implications all at once, leaving no margin for hesitation. Such moments reveal the intersection of human resilience and technological reliance, illustrating that bravery, clarity, and decision-making capacity are indispensable components of modern combat. Another layer of complexity comes from the unpredictable environment in which these events unfold. Yemen's airspace is increasingly contested, with evolving threats that combine conventional weapons, guerrilla tactics, and increasingly capable defense systems. For the pilots, this meant operating under the constant awareness that the familiar patterns of engagement could be disrupted at any second. Hook, one misjudgment, one unexpected maneuver from the adversary could render even the most advanced aircraft vulnerable. This unpredictability magnifies the importance of the human element. Machines alone cannot anticipate every scenario, but trained pilots can adapt, improvise, and respond in ways that technology cannot replicate. The forced ejection also draws attention to the broader implications of human-machine interaction in military settings. While aircraft are designed to enhance human capability, they cannot eliminate human risk. Hook, the pilot's survival was as much about their skill, reflexes, and training as it was about the aircraft's engineering. This creates a dual narrative, one celebrating technological achievement and another acknowledging the enduring significance of human agency. It reminds analysts and the public alike that the most advanced systems are tools, not guarantees, and that real-world operations always hinge on the humans who operate them. Finally, this incident compels a reassessment of how military preparedness is conceptualized. While investment in technology is critical, equal emphasis must be placed on training, situational awareness, and psychological resilience. Hook, the lesson is clear: no aircraft, no matter how sophisticated, can replace the judgment, courage, and adaptability of the human pilot. The Israeli pilot's experience in Yemen is a vivid, high-stakes illustration of this principle, revealing the indispensable role of human capability in modern warfare and reminding the world that even the most advanced technology cannot fully substitute for human skill, intuition, and resilience in the face of sudden, life-threatening crises. The mid-air ejection of Israeli pilots over Yemen is not just a tactical event confined to the skies above a conflict zone. It carries significant strategic and geopolitical implications that reverberate far beyond the immediate theater. When a nation's military, long considered technologically superior, is confronted by unexpected threats, the ripple effects are profound. Hook into this, such incidents challenge perceptions of invincibility, forcing both allies and adversaries to reevaluate assumptions about power, capability, and regional stability. In today's interconnected world, even a single airborne emergency can alter calculations in capitals thousands of miles away, influencing diplomatic negotiations, defense planning, and international perceptions of strength. The strategic consequences begin with a reevaluation of air superiority itself. Israel has historically relied on advanced technology to maintain dominance in the skies, a combination of precision weapons, real-time intelligence, and highly trained pilots. Yet the forced ejection demonstrates that dominance is situational, contingent, and vulnerable to adaptive adversaries. Hook, the event raises critical questions about how far technological advantage can secure operational success when met with innovative or unexpected defensive tactics. Regional actors, observing this incident, are likely to reassess their own capabilities, strategies, and risk thresholds, leading to a more dynamic and less predictable balance of power in the Middle East. On a geopolitical scale, the incident sends multiple signals simultaneously. To allies, it highlights the limitations of even the most advanced military systems, suggesting that continued investment in joint intelligence and coordination may be more vital than previously thought. Hooking into this, it reminds policymakers that military aid, technology transfers, and collaborative defense efforts must account not only for hardware but also for the unpredictable human and environmental variables inherent in combat zones. Conversely, adversaries perceive the event as a demonstration of vulnerability, a psychological leverage point that may embolden risk-taking or recalibrate strategic postures. Every forced ejection becomes more than an operational mishap. It is a message in the broader chessboard of international relations. The political implications extend to domestic governance and public perception. Citizens, especially in democracies, closely watch how their nation's armed forces perform under pressure. Hook, the media coverage, social media reactions, and expert analysis surrounding such incidents can influence public confidence, parliamentary oversight, and debates about military engagement. The perception of vulnerability, even momentary, can shift domestic discourse, prompting discussions about procurement training or policy reassessment. Leaders must navigate not only the tactical realities but also the political optics, balancing transparency with the need to maintain strategic credibility. Another dimension of consequence lies in the broader regional security calculus. Neighboring states watching closely may recalibrate their own defense strategies or exploit perceived weaknesses to assert influence. Hook incidents like these remind the world that power is not absolute, and even nations considered technologically dominant must continuously innovate to maintain strategic advantage. In areas of persistent tension, where alliances are fluid and interests overlapping, a single airborne emergency can trigger a chain reaction of strategic reassessment, signaling adjustments in deployment, surveillance, and diplomatic engagement across multiple nations. The international security framework is also influenced as global powers monitor regional conflicts to evaluate risk, align interests, and protect investments. Hooking into this, every mid-air incident informs intelligence assessments, arms trade negotiations, and contingency planning. Observers from the United Nations, NATO-affiliated countries, and other major powers view such events as critical data points, shaping policy decisions, humanitarian considerations, and military advisories. In essence, the incident over Yemen operates on multiple levels simultaneously, affecting immediate tactical decisions, regional strategy, and global geopolitical calculations. Finally, the forced ejection underscores the unpredictable nature of modern conflict, where even superior forces can encounter unexpected setbacks. Hook. Each of these setbacks becomes both a cautionary tale and a learning opportunity for militaries and policymakers alike. It demonstrates that strategic planning must be holistic, integrating technology, human skill, intelligence, and contingency measures. The event forces analysts, leaders, and the international community to confront the reality that the global chessboard of military power is never static, and the consequences of any incident, even those occurring high above the desert floor, can be far reaching, multifaceted, and deeply consequential. The mid air ejection of Israeli pilots over Yemen carries profound implications not only for the immediate region, but also for international security and policy. The incident underscores the interconnectedness of modern conflicts, where a localized event can influence global calculations, reshape alliances, and alter military doctrines. Hook into this, a single emergency in the skies above Yemen instantly becomes a reference point for governments, intelligence agencies, and defense analysts around the world, forcing a reevaluation of both strategic assumptions and tactical preparedness. The vulnerability exposed in this incident is a stark reminder that military dominance is never absolute, and that every operational setback has the potential to cascade far beyond the battlefield. From an international security perspective, the event challenges assumptions about air superiority and the reliability of advanced technology. Israeli forces, historically seen as unmatched in precision and aerial capability, were confronted by a situation that rendered their sophisticated systems insufficient to guarantee safety. Hooking into this, global observers must now consider the implications for conflict zones elsewhere. If one of the most technologically advanced air forces can be challenged in Yemen, what does this signal about the effectiveness of similar systems in other high risk theaters? This recalibration affects not only military planners, but also policymakers who must anticipate and mitigate the broader risks posed by emerging threats in contested airspaces. The incident also has direct consequences for diplomatic and policy frameworks. Nations with vested interests in the Middle East will closely monitor how Israel responds to this setback, interpreting it as a measure of both operational capability and strategic resolve. Hook. The forced ejection serves as a subtle but powerful signal to allies and adversaries alike, influencing negotiations, intelligence sharing, and coalition building efforts. It reinforces the idea that conflict outcomes are not determined solely by technology or firepower, but by the ability to adapt quickly, respond to surprises, and maintain operational flexibility under pressure. Another dimension involves the global arms market and military procurement strategies. When high-profile incidents like this occur, governments and defense contractors alike take notice. Hook. The vulnerability revealed in the forced ejection can trigger shifts in defense investments, prompting countries to prioritize upgrades in air defense, pilot safety protocols, and contingency measures. Observers may also reassess the value of particular technologies, weighing the efficacy of advanced aircraft against emerging missile systems or unconventional tactics. This creates a ripple effect that can influence the distribution of resources, procurement policies, and even international arms sales over the long term. The psychological and informational aspects of the event cannot be underestimated. Hooking into this, every military setback is also a narrative, one that informs public perception, media coverage, and political discourse. Images or reports of pilots ejecting from advanced aircraft feed into broader stories about vulnerability, resilience, and strategic competence. Global audiences, from policymakers in Washington to citizens in neighboring states, consume these narratives and interpret them in ways that can shape foreign policy, alliances, and even domestic support for military initiatives. The incident thus operates on multiple levels operationally, strategically, politically, and psychologically. Finally, the ejection over Yemen underscores the reality that modern warfare is inherently unpredictable and that localized incidents can have far reaching international consequences. Hook. Every decision, every maneuver, and every system failure is scrutinized in the global context, influencing not only immediate military responses, but also broader strategic thinking. For international security architects, the event becomes a case study in risk, vulnerability, and adaptability, reinforcing the imperative that strategy must integrate technology, human skill, intelligence, and global awareness. The forced ejection is not just a tactical occurrence, it is a lesson for nations, alliances, and decision makers about the complexity, fragility, and interdependence of modern security landscapes. The mid-air ejection of Israeli pilots over Yemen underscores a critical lesson in modern military operations: the need for preparedness and resilience at every level of engagement. The incident reveals that technological superiority, while invaluable, cannot replace the capacity to anticipate the unexpected, adapt in real time, and respond with precision under extreme pressure. Hook into this: in high stakes environments, the margin between operational success and catastrophe is razor thin, and preparedness is the only reliable safeguard against the unpredictable dynamics of conflict. This event demonstrates that both human and systemic resilience are indispensable elements of effective defense strategy. The pilot's ability to survive and execute the ejection properly highlights the importance of rigorous training, decision-making frameworks, and psychological fortitude. Hooking into this, consider the environment they faced: hostile airspace, high velocity, and the potential presence of advanced enemy defenses. In such a scenario, theoretical knowledge is insufficient; instinct, rapid analysis, and disciplined execution determine outcomes. The incident becomes a vivid case study in how preparedness and resilience intersect, showing that even the most advanced aircraft cannot substitute for the competence and adaptability of trained professionals operating under life-threatening conditions. This event also emphasizes the broader implications for military institutions and strategic planning. Hook forces must integrate redundancy, risk assessment, and adaptive protocols into every mission. The forced ejection illustrates that contingencies, no matter how well designed, must be supplemented by human judgment, creative problem solving, and situational awareness. Military planners now face the challenge of reassessing operational doctrines, refining training regimens, and considering the unpredictable capabilities of adversaries, ensuring that personnel are equipped not only with advanced technology but also with the skills and resilience to overcome failure scenarios. Another dimension involves the psychological resilience required to operate in high-threat environments. Hooking into this, the ejection incident illuminates the mental demands placed on pilots who must maintain composure while confronting imminent danger. The ability to act decisively under stress is not innate but cultivated through years of training, simulation, and experience. For military leaders, this underscores the value of investing in cognitive readiness, stress inoculation, and adaptive thinking as core components of operational effectiveness. In modern warfare, resilience is as much about mindset as it is about machinery. The incident also serves as a broader lesson for international security and strategic policy. Hook: nations cannot rely solely on the perceived invincibility of their technology or forces. Adaptive adversaries, environmental unpredictability, and the inherent risks of complex operations necessitate a culture of continuous learning and strategic flexibility. Every emergency, every forced ejection, every near miss becomes data insight and a catalyst for refining tactics, updating training, and enhancing strategic foresight. Resilience is therefore institutional as well as individual, ensuring that organizations can respond to setbacks while maintaining operational effectiveness and credibility. Finally, the event in Yemen emphasizes the interplay between technology, human skill, and strategic foresight. Hook: while the aircraft may falter and technology may encounter limits, the preparedness and resilience of those operating within these systems define the ultimate outcome. The pilot's survival and the lessons drawn from their experience highlight the indispensable role of human judgment, adaptability, and strategic foresight in mitigating risk. It serves as a reminder that, in modern conflict, resilience is not merely a reactive quality, it is a proactive commitment to anticipate challenges, respond effectively, and endure in the face of adversity.